Story time. Webcam recording. What is this about? Let's see. Way back when, before the death of my parents, this is a funny story. This is something that older folk do, and I remember the minister, he didn't want me to tell it. My sister didn't want me to tell this story at the funeral. It's just one of those kind of stories. Okay, imagine this. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm going to ramble about odds and ends and go off on tangents like I am already. Well, my father, he was disabled. You know, there was a time he could walk for a long time. So one day he couldn't get up anymore. And so he was bedridden, except for going to lunch and dinner. You know, he got in his wheelchair and went to lunch and had dinner, but most of the time he spent in bed. He had a hospital bed. One of the things with the little bars of it that he could help pull himself up, and my mother's bed was just to his left. So you gotta imagine, looking at the room, I'm standing in the room, there's a bed on this side and a bed on that side. Mom's bed, Dad's bed. And he had a little table in the middle where he had his laptop sitting. And behind that was a desk, a small desk, you know, like an end table that was in between the two beds. So you can imagine that. And in front of that little end table was a cardboard box where trash was thrown, mail and such, candy wrappers. So we got my mother in this bed, my father in that, to her right. And there came a time where my mother had she'd fallen and broken her kneecap, so she had to wear a leg brace for a long time, for quite some time. And this is an old folk story. This is a story that you read about. This is why I'm telling it. This is one of those things you go, why the fuck are they doing that? This is just completely nuts. It's not funny. It's just one of those things that older folk do together. I mean, you gotta remember, they were married for 57 years. My mother had never abandoned him, even, you know, years ago when he broke his neck. They were codependent on each other in the most positive way. And they died 8 months apart later on. My mother died after my father. So one day, I'd walked in, and Mom was in her bed with her leg all bandaged up, and my father was, was doing, what he did on, a normal everyday kind of thing. And he was, he smoked, and my mother smoked. And I'm standing there at the edge of these two beds, looking at them. Dad on the left, Mom on the right. Dad's smoking. And he says, "Elaine, do you want some of this?" Oh, and so he takes a cigarette and he puts it in his left hand and he hands it across to my mother. You gotta remember, they're both disabled. Neither of them could get up. And they got this, and he hands, my father, his left hand he really couldn't use. It was it was all messed up. He couldn't ride with it. He could put weight on it, but he couldn't ride with it or anything like that. But so he's handing my mother this lit cigarette with his bad hand, because he's to her right, and he's handing it over to her across this little aisle, on over their cardboard box dumpster that they had in between the beds, this little box. And she's taking this cigarette from me. It was probably, a butt, like, let's see if I can find something less than, a little bit more than that. Just kind of had a couple drags left on it. Here, Elaine, do you want some of this? And he's handing this over to her with his bad hand, and I'm watching this happen. I go, what are you doing? And Mom's taking the cigarette from him, and she's taking a drag on it, and then she reaches over and puts it out in the ashtray. And I'm thinking, what if y'all dropped that? Dad, if you had dropped that, it's your bad hand. And they're not thinking twice about this. It was like this happened on a regular basis. I just happened to see it that one day. This was a normal occurrence, and this is life. This is, I don't really know what to think about it exactly, except that I'm sure they did it quite often. It's the curiosity of the whole event that in a way it was terrifying, but in a way it was, these are two people that have been together for 57 years. My father giving his wife the last little bit of a cigarette that he had. Elaine, do you want some of this before I put it out? But he's handing it to her over. He could have easily dropped it. I'm sure he's, done it, or had done it, numerous times before. You know how people tell stories just like this one. I've been wanting to tell this story for a while, but it's one of those things you just have to be there when you see an event like this happen. These are my parents. God rest their souls. They're dead now. And I think if he had dropped that, a fire could have started, and neither of them could have done anything. But a fire, it never happened. They both died differently. But that's my story, at least for now. Video blog. Sound in the background, that's the coffee maker. But I wanted to tell this for a while. I can still see it. I remember it like it was yesterday, or last week, or 20 minutes ago, watching this event happen. Elaine, you want part of the cigarette? This is my father's name was Dana. You want part of the cigarette before I put it out? And she reaches over and takes it and draws on it and then puts it out like it was any other day. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching.